Welcome to Etihad Focus, your number one spot for the latest match updates, transfer news, and inside training coverage. If you love football, you're in the right place. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any breaking updates. Let's get started. Can Antoine Semenyo play in the Carabao Cup? Rule change explained ahead of Manchester City. Manchester City and Antoine Semenyo are set to benefit from a change of rules affecting the Carabao Cup semi-finals. Everything you need to know about the rule change which allows Antoine Semenyo to play for Manchester City in the Carabao Cup. Eligibility status. New signing. Antoine Semenyo is fully eligible to represent Manchester City in the Carabao Cup semi-final against Newcastle United. While he played for Bournemouth in an earlier round, he is no longer restricted by traditional cup-tied limitations. New rule. A significant update to the English Football League regulations was introduced for the 2025/26 season. This new rule specifically permits a registered player to represent up to 2 different clubs in the competition within a single campaign. Previously, a player was cup-tied to their original team for the entire tournament once they stepped onto the pitch. Under the current guidelines, players can now transition between clubs during the winter window and continue competing in the cup for their new side. Different rounds. To remain eligible for a second club, the player's appearances must occur in different rounds of the tournament. Semenyo appeared in the second round for Bournemouth in August, meaning his participation in the semi-finals for City is permitted. Semi-final deadline. For a new signing to be eligible for both legs of a semi-final, they must be registered before the first leg takes place. Because Semenyo completed his move on January 9th, 2026, he met the deadline to feature in the first leg on January 13th and the return leg. Reaction to change. This rule change has sparked debate among managers, with Newcastle's Eddie Howe expressing frustration over the timing of the adjustment. However, the update aligns the Carabao Cup with broader FIFA transfer trends, allowing elite clubs more flexibility when recruiting in January. James Trafford to start for Manchester City amid transfer questions as Pep Guardiola sets out stance. Manchester City goalkeeper James Trafford will start against Newcastle in what could be his only season for the Blues before leaving. Pep Guardiola will start James Trafford against Newcastle on Tuesday, amid uncertainty surrounding the goalkeeper's future at Manchester City. Trafford picked City over Newcastle last summer, but was almost immediately benched when the club signed Gianluigi Donnarumma on the final day of the transfer window. Having started the first 3 Premier League games this season, Trafford has started none of 18 since, with his appearances restricted to knockout competitions. Guardiola will keep him in goal for the first leg of their semi-final despite seeing Donnarumma as his number 1, and Newcastle will get another chance to see Trafford up close. Eddie Howe talked him up on Monday, and Newcastle could be in the market for a goalkeeper again in summer, when Trafford will be looking to move. The England stopper will do well to hold on to his spot in the World Cup squad if he does not play more regularly, and the path to first-team football at the Etihad looks permanently blocked, given Donnarumma is only 26. Guardiola said that he would love to keep Trafford for many years, but accepted that there is not as much leeway to rotate goalkeepers as there is outfield players. City do not want to lose him in January, but would consider offers that came their way in summer, given Trafford wants to play every week. He reacted really well. There's no complaints. James is a top keeper, and there's no doubt about that. I don't feel bad, but I understand the situation, because the situation of the keeper is completely special. Play one or the other one, said Guardiola. It's not like some players you can play in different positions, and you can do it like that. What I said, we count on him, we want him, and what's going to happen at the end of the season, we will see. I would like him to stay for many, many, many years here, because he has attributes to play in a big club like us. But the situation of the keepers is special, is different, and we'll see what happens at the end of the season. Marc Guehi transfer news. Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester City, Bayern Munich. What are the options for Crystal Palace defender? Marc Guehi is set to be one of the most talked about transfer targets in 2026. The England international has entered the last 6 months of his Crystal Palace contract. Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester City and Bayern Munich are the teams interested in him. Guéhi has entered the final 6 months of his contract at Crystal Palace, with Eagles boss Oliver Glasner admitting earlier this season that the player has already informed the club he will depart in 2026. The only question remains whether Guéhi will move in January or July. The England international can walk away for nothing when his contract expires on June 30th, or interested clubs can sort a cut-price deal with Palace this month for an immediate transfer. Guehi is also able to negotiate a pre-contract agreement with clubs in Europe, but the player is taking his time to weigh up the options before making a decision. Manchester City are the club who want to sign him this month, but they would also be prepared to take him as a free agent in the summer. City would have to make Crystal Palace an offer that is too good to turn down to get Guehi this month. As of Monday evening, that has not happened. Palace were willing to accept £35 million from Liverpool until the last minute in the summer, and they still would want a sizable fee. City are in the market for a centre-back because of injuries to Josko Gvardiol and Ruben Dias, plus question marks over the long-term futures of John Stones and Nathan Ake. Liverpool are pushing to sign Guehi as a free agent next summer. Guehi nearly moved to Liverpool on the final day of the summer transfer window, but his £35 million move collapsed at the last minute last summer. Manchester City have Rayan Aït-Nouri doubt for Newcastle. Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola spoke about his team selection thoughts for their Carabao Cup semi-final with Newcastle. Manchester City will assess Rayan Aït-Nouri in training following his return from the Africa Cup of Nations before deciding if he can travel to Newcastle. The Algerian travelled back after his side were knocked out of the tournament, although a cancelled flight connection delayed his arrival in Manchester. Otherwise, Pep Guardiola is sweating on a few players who have niggles as he looks to prepare his team for the Carabao Cup semi-final. The first leg is at St James Park on Tuesday, with the second leg at the Etihad not for another 3 weeks due to the schedule. Aït-Nouri will help City in a month, where they have a number of injury concerns to deal with. Guardiola suggested that the left-back could come straight back into the squad for the Newcastle game, but will decide after training on Monday. "We will see," he said. "We have some players with niggles, and we will see how they feel this afternoon." Rayan Aït-Nouri has come back from AFCON, but unfortunately lost the connection, so arrived a little bit late. "We will see in the training sessions how he feels, and don't want to take risks of players getting injured again." New signing Antoine Semenyo could also feature after starting in the 10-1 thrashing of Exeter at the weekend, notching a goal and an assist before being brought off after an hour. A change to the Carabao Cup rules means that he can play against Newcastle despite having already represented Bournemouth this season. "The impression is what he has done in Bournemouth for many years," said Guardiola. "He's a really nice guy, and in a few actions he showed what he showed at Bournemouth, and hopefully he can continue to do here." He has what Manchester City coaches think about Pep Guardiola. Future Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola was not in the dugout on Saturday, and some claim he will permanently leave in 2026. Pep Guardiola's number 2 believes the Manchester City manager has no limits to his ambition as he looks to move one step closer to a 5th League Cup title. The Blues head to Newcastle for the first leg of their semi-final, buoyed by a 10-1 demolition of Exeter in the FA Cup. Guardiola watched the game from the stands as he served a one-match ban for picking up 3 yellow cards this season, and the question of when he will permanently leave the City dugout has again been raised. Recent reports claimed that the Catalan could walk away at the end of the season, despite his contract running until 2027. Pep Lijnders was brought in back in summer to help boost Guardiola by refreshing his backroom staff, arriving with a formidable CV that includes assisting Jurgen Klopp in Liverpool's epic battles with City over the past decade. He arrived with Kolo Touré and James French, and was praised recently by Guardiola after the Nottingham Forest game for in-game tweaks that saw them pick up an important 3 points. The 42-year-old did not let standards slip against Exeter with a relentless performance that brought 10 goals, and did not hesitate afterwards when asked about the hunger that Guardiola possesses. "The ambitious ones. They don't have limits," said Lijnders, "and he has passion and ambition." Guardiola will be back in charge at St James's Park on Tuesday, a stadium City lost in last November in the Premier League, when City can move one game from Wembley if they can pick up a good result.